Ray, welcome. Thank you for your service. Let me start in particular by thanking you for your opening statement. It was a powerful testament to serve on the front lines. Like you, I have spent far too much time with grieving families of the men and women in blue who have lost their lives, protecting us, keeping us safe as a job. I think we are all obliged to take the time to appreciate, to say, I encourage folks to listen to your opening statement because it was a powerful reminder that wakes up and puts on his or her uniform and straps on his or her gun and kisses goodbye for the morning they may not see their kids again. And thank you for the work the FBI is doing to keep our officers, and all of us have to continue to keep officers safe. I want to start with a topic that, which is Chinese espionage. You have described the threat of China and the most significant that we are facing, and your testimony said that the United States significantly underestimates espionage. What avenues are we seeing where Chinese economic espionage is manifest?
So certainly it covers the waterfront in terms of sectors, from all the way to aerospace, to aviation, to agriculture. We had, a case in Kansas not that long, steal, highly proprietary rice seeds that were being developed. The U.S. agriculture and that's a place where they've done a number of things. So it covers the whole spectrum of types of sectors. But then in terms, it's Fortune 100 companies all the way down to startups in Silicon Valley. And then in terms of types of technique, from cyber intrusions to corruption of insiders, to things that are not illegal but are.
The atmosphere in the congressional committee room was deceptively calm. Senator Ted Cruz leaned forward, staring down the lens of the microphone and locking eyes with FBI Director Christopher Wray. What was about to unfold was not just a hearing, but a meticulously crafted trap designed to expose a double standard at the highest levels of federal law enforcement. Cruz began with a disarming strategy, offering a seemingly routine expression of gratitude. He started by thanking Director Wray for his service and his powerful opening statement. Why would a seasoned political predator open with such gentle praise? The senator carefully painted a picture of the men and women in blue who protect the nation. He reminded everyone that every single day, an officer straps on a gun, kisses their family goodbye, and faces the very real possibility of not coming home. This emotional anchor wasn't just rhetoric. It was the foundation for the devastating argument he was about to build. To trap an experienced bureaucrat like Wray, Cruz needed him to articulate exactly how the FBI handles organized, complex threats. So the senator deliberately steered the conversation toward a universally acknowledged enemy, Chinese economic espionage. Cruz stated plainly that the United States significantly underestimates this unique threat. Wray took the bait, visibly relaxing as he engaged on a topic where he felt completely in control. The director enthusiastically detailed how Chinese operations cover the entire waterfront of American industry. He painted a sprawling picture of a highly organized adversary targeting everything from Silicon Valley startups to Fortune 100 giants. The director even brought up a chilling case in Kansas involving the attempted theft of highly proprietary agricultural rice seeds. He confidently explained that foreign operatives use an all-tools approach. This includes cyber intrusions, insider corruption, and exploiting foreign investments to drain American intellectual property. Cruz nodded, perfectly satisfied that Wray had just confirmed the FBI's ability to track invisible, decentralized networks. The senator then narrowed his focus to the academic sector, specifically mentioning research institutions in his home state of Texas. He noted that university leaders are often less savvy and less aware of the massive scope of this espionage. Wray practically fell over himself to agree, validating Cruz's concerns about the academic space. The director detailed how the Chinese Communist Party uses so-called talent plans to create pipelines of intellectual property. This dual-use technology flows directly back to China, ironically funded by U.S. taxpayer grant money. To demonstrate the FBI's proactive stance, Wray proudly mentioned their recent collaborative work with Texas A&M. He explained they were trying to raise awareness so universities could make voluntary decisions to protect their research. At this exact moment, Wray believed he was navigating a friendly, bipartisan discussion about international security. He was dead wrong. Having successfully forced the FBI director to admit that the Bureau easily tracks complex, sprawling, non-traditional networks, Cruz snapped the trap shut. The senator abruptly abandoned the topic of China and turned his sights squarely onto the American homeland. The temperature in the room plummeted as Cruz invoked a name that terrifies local politicians: Antifa. He noted the bitter irony that a group calling itself anti-fascist routinely engages in the exact conduct of fascists. They are masked men and women who use coordinated physical violence to terrorize citizens and disrupt daily life. Cruz wasn't just speaking in generalities. He brought the receipts. He detailed the horrific actions of the Rose City chapter of Antifa in Portland, Oregon. These extremists violently assaulted citizens, severely injuring a journalist who was hospitalized with a brain hemorrhage. But the terror didn't stop in Portland. Cruz escalated his timeline to an attack that had occurred just that weekend in Tacoma, Washington. He named the attacker Willem Van Spronsen, who assaulted a U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement center. The attacker ignited a vehicle and attempted to detonate a massive propane tank. The senator leaned in, his voice cold and deliberate as he framed the ultimate question. He declared that these were not isolated incidents, but rather a clear organizational pattern of anonymous, violent terrorism. Cruz looked Wray dead in the eye and asked to what extent the FBI was concerned about this violent activity. Wray immediately shifted in his seat, the comfortable facade of the international spy hunter completely vanishing. The director attempted a bureaucratic sidestep, stating vaguely that the FBI is absolutely concerned about violence committed on behalf of any ideology. But then Wray made a critical, calculated error in his phrasing. Trying to downplay the systemic nature of the threat, Wray fell back on a heavily criticized talking point. He claimed that the FBI doesn't investigate ideology, but only violent criminal activity. Then came the infamous defense. The FBI views Antifa as more of an ideology than an organization. Wray tried to soften the blow by claiming they had properly predicated investigations into anarchist extremists. He admitted that some of these individuals do subscribe to an Antifa-like ideology. However, he stubbornly refused to classify the movement itself as a structured organization capable of being targeted as a whole. This was exactly the evasive, bureaucratic answer Ted Cruz had anticipated. Wray had just spent 10 minutes explaining how the FBI tracks formless Chinese academic espionage networks. Yet, he suddenly claimed the Bureau was powerless to define a domestic group with chapters, coordinated attacks, and unified branding. Cruz did not yell, nor did he pound his fists on the table. Instead, he deployed a legal weapon so severe it shook the foundations of the Department of Justice. He smoothly countered that the Bureau absolutely possesses significant tools to go after criminal enterprises that use anonymity and masks to carry out violence. To hammer his point home, Cruz drew a breathtaking historical parallel that left the room in stunned silence. He explicitly compared the tactics of Antifa to the historic terrorism of the Ku Klux Klan and the Mafia. The Ku Klux Klan hid behind hoods to terrorize communities, just as modern extremists hide behind black masks. But the real devastating blow was yet to come. Cruz didn't just offer an opinion. He produced an actionable, legal mandate that Wray could not ignore. The senator announced that that very day, he was sending a formal letter to both Wray and the Department of Justice. This wasn't a standard congressional inquiry or a polite request for a briefing. Cruz was officially asking the Department of Justice to open a massive RICO investigation into Antifa. The Racketeer-Influenced and Corrupt Organizations Act is the nuclear option of federal law enforcement. RICO was originally designed to dismantle the Italian Mafia by tying the crimes of street soldiers to the bosses who orchestrated them. By invoking RICO, Cruz was demanding the FBI treat these masked rioters not as isolated vandals, but as a coordinated criminal syndicate. It was a brilliant legal maneuver that entirely bypassed Wray's weak ideology excuse. If the FBI could use RICO to crush mob families who operated through whispers and unwritten rules, they could certainly use it here. They could track the funding, the online coordination, and the logistical supply chains of these violent chapters. Cruz was forcing the FBI to either use their most powerful tool or openly admit their political reluctance. But the RICO letter contained a secondary target that was even more explosive than the street rioters themselves. Cruz revealed that his DOJ request would likewise focus on the complicity of local elected officials. He was going after the mayors and city councils who had chosen to deny police protection to their citizens based on political ideology. This was the ultimate unmasking of the political establishment. Cruz pointed out the tragic historical pattern, reminding the room of a dark era when Southern politicians openly favored Klan violence by ordering police to stand down. He argued that every American citizen, regardless of their political beliefs, deserves basic law enforcement protection. The silence following this declaration was deafening. Cruz had just accused modern progressive mayors of mimicking the political complicity of Jim Crow-era officials. He had officially placed their deliberate inaction into the crosshairs of a federal racketeering investigation. Director Wray, fully realizing he had been backed into a corner with no escape route, offered the only response he could. Stripped of his bureaucratic talking points, he simply stated, "I look forward to reviewing your letter. Thank you, sir." It was a total capitulation wrapped in congressional politeness. This confrontation was never truly about Chinese espionage, despite how much time was spent on the topic. It was a calculated legal ambush designed to strip away the illusion that the federal government was helpless against organized domestic violence. Senator Ted Cruz used the FBI's own definition of complex threat networks to destroy their excuses. By submitting the RICO request on the official congressional record, Cruz ensured the document could not simply be buried in a file cabinet. He forced a legal countdown. The Department of Justice now had a formal, highly publicized demand to treat masked political violence as organized crime. The implications of this moment stretch far beyond a single committee hearing. If the DOJ actually follows through with a RICO investigation, the entire infrastructure of these anonymous movements will collapse. Financial backers, logistical organizers, and sympathetic local politicians could all face devastating federal racketeering charges. This is the hidden reality of Washington that the mainstream media refuses to cover. While the public is fed narratives about spontaneous protests, lawmakers are quietly fighting a brutal war over how the law is applied. Will the FBI finally unleash its full arsenal against this coordinated terrorism? Or will the political elite continue to protect their masked enforcers?